Hey guys, LootWizard here, and yes, it is that time again. It is the first day of the week, and we have new troops in the Soulforge. We have new weapons there, and we have a new event, the Tower of Doom. So we're going to be going over all of that good stuff in this video. So let's get right into it. Let's head over to the Soulforge and check out the weapons first. First one here is Doomed Hammer, which is actually a new Doom weapon, so I don't recommend buying it here for your diamonds. You can go into the event shop and get that for gems. Gems are easier to get than diamonds, but taking a look real quick here at what it does. It's one of these Doom weapons that does heavy splash damage to an enemy, and that is boosted by the tempering level, and you can get it up there to a 10 tempering level. So that's an extra 40 damage if you get up to that max tempering level added to like what you can see here. For me, it's 38, so I would get like 80 heavy splash damage, which isn't too bad. But it is situational here based on stunning blue enemies, cleansing blue allies. Then it will explode 4 gems. If the enemy has a Doom, explode 3 more. So it's always going to guarantee exploding 4 gems. So it's a little bit of mana generation, but I would really like to see something different here. Stunning blue enemies and cleansing blue allies. That would be more useful if it was just stun all enemies and cleanse all allies. But it is a blue doomed weapon, so I guess, they're trying to be, unique to its color. Which I guess, but I probably won't use this weapon much. But it's an okay weapon. I have a couple of them that are just like this with different colors. It's an okay weapon, but it's nothing to really praise a lot. At least, not yet. Who knows? They could buff these types of weapons in the future, and then they're like really powerful. So I would just get it now in the gem shop. That way you have it. Moving on down here, the only weapon that is really unique to this week is the Ice Aegis here. And this weapon will steal attack and armor from an enemy. If the enemy is a boss, freeze all enemies and barrier all allies. Now, this weapon really is only extremely useful if you are fighting a boss. And there's only like 2 situations that I can think of where you're fighting a boss, and it's either in your daily dungeons, which usually those bosses are pretty weak. Once you get to like level 200, 300, you should have troops and weapons that are powerful enough to deal with those bosses where you don't need this type of weapon. The other situation is the raid boss events, but usually you're going to use Mang or Trickster Shot or Earth's Fury, one of those weapons for that event. So this weapon, I don't see a lot of use for it. I do have it, and I have never really used it. So that might tell you something about whether you should get this weapon or not. It doesn't seem horrible with it stealing attack and armor, but I don't think it's really worth crafting that. So that's it. That's really all there is for weapons in the Forge here this week. And by the way, the kingdom that is the event kingdom this week is Stormheim. So that's where those weapons are coming from. Right, we're going to go through the summoning stones really quickly, and then we're going to get into legendary and mythic troops here. Blue summoning stones, we don't really have anything fancy. Clockwork Knight is kind of an interesting troop, but it's pure defense, no damage, except if it does connect skulls. So, but I wouldn't spend any of these summoning stones on that or anything in blue. As for the next color here, green, it's pretty much the same situation. The only troop in here that I think is pretty good, that is a little underrated, is the Elven Bard. Give 2 magic to an ally, mana equal to half their mana cost, then enchant them. That's pretty good, but you should already have that from gold keys. I wouldn't spend any of these summoning stones on it. For red day or red summoning stones, the only one here that I would really say you should try to get if you don't have is Dark Troll. Simply because Dark Troll is going to double the number of purple on the board, and it will generate souls. This sort of troop goes really well with Pharaoh's Ra or the Dragon Soul in some kind of soul farming team. So that might be worth getting if you don't have it. Yellow Nothing really here that's amazing. I mean, yes, Valkyrie is good. Yes, Cockatrice is good. But those troops you should already have if you're opening quite a few gold keys. Up here, the higher rarity, you have Lamash 2, which is actually an empowered troop converter. Pretty good, but, you know, I probably would wait to get that from keys. Purple. Okay, we got a couple of interesting troops here. This is one of the mana converters. I'd probably wait to get that too with keys. But Wall of Tentacles, I mean, it's hard to really say here. I'm not going to recommend getting it in the Summoning Stones. I would wait to get it in the keys. But this troop is interesting. You can gain armor, and then it will also give all other allies 2 magic and 5 mana. So there are a couple of interesting teams where, for example, you could have 3 of these in your team, and then you could have your hero class with a weapon, and it would just constantly, once you get them rolling, they would all fill each other up every single cast, and it would fill up your hero weapon and give it magic. It's kind of slow, but it's an interesting troop. Brown Summoning Stones, there's nothing here really. Cyclops is probably one of the more powerful troops in here, but you should already have that. So, yeah, Summoning Stones, nothing really amazing in there. Dark Troll is probably the only troop that I saw that I can recommend trying to get if you don't have it in the Summoning Stones. All right, moving on to legendary troops. We have Orion, King Michael, and Glitterclaw, Holy Saint Astra. And immediately here, I'm going to say Holy Saint Astra is probably the troop. If you're going to get a legendary troop this week, that would be the one that I would say to get. But is it worth the 800 diamonds? Yeah, probably not. But it certainly is a really great support troop. It gives life and armor to all allies, creates a light storm, enchants all humans, and it causes all humans to start with 50% mana. So there are some pretty good human teams that you can make with this troop. It is divine human, so that's a good troop for divine teams as well. Now on to mythic troops, and this is kind of interesting because we have we have some like interesting mythic troops this week, but at the same time, it's going to be hard for me to really recommend one in particular. And Furnace is not as good as it used to be, but it's still a decent troop. I do put it in teams till this day. I do like the fact that it does explode the 5 random gems. That keeps things going. And it still is a really great troop for if you're going to use a class with the Fireblade talent, because on a 4 or 5 gem match it will burn all enemies, and that will really help out when you're using a class that has the Fireblade talent. So this is a good troop for that. It does splash damage, so it's going to do 50% of the splash damage to troops adjacent to the target that it hits. It will create a firestorm when an enemy dies. So I do think Infernus is a good troop, but it has lost a little bit of its ranking. We've had quite a few new mythics come out that are more powerful than Infernus. But if you have all of like the best mythic troops that everyone recommends in these types of videos, but you don't have Infernus yet, then maybe pick that up. Now we go on to a couple of these other ones. Fallen Valdus I do not have. It's one of the very few mythic troops that I don't have yet. So I can't really say anything about it from personal experience. However, just looking at its ability, I will say that it's not a mythic troop that you should craft unless you're trying to collect them all. It deals damage to all enemies. It will explode 3 Doom Skulls boosted by divine enemies, silence divine enemies. So it's really like an anti-divine troop. But damage, 30 damage to all enemies. If I want to do 30 damage to all enemies, there are other troops. I could probably find a legendary troop that I own that's going to do something close to 30 damage to all enemies. So, not worth crafting. Phoenicia is worth crafting if you don't have it. It can do some really high damage. It does say here 24 damage to all enemies, but there's hidden damage within the rest of this card. It says that that's boosted by red gems, and so you can have and burning enemies. But red gems is the highest boost ratio here, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so you can have, like, let's say you have 20 red gems on the board. That's an extra 20 damage added to the 24. Then, if there is a firestorm, deal double damage. So, you can get this thing to like 60 damage to all enemies pretty consistently between the boost of red gems and the firestorm. And the best class that works with this troop is the Sunspear class, because when you fully trade it, it will have a firestorm going every single turn, and that will increase, that'll double the damage no matter what. So if you're using it with the firestorm active, it'll give you probably 40 to 50 damage. And you should be able to get it close to the 60 damage to all enemies pretty consistently every cast that you'd use with it. And this is one of those mythic troops that I don't think you have to trade it at all for it to be good. You just need the firestorm. So that's something to really consider as well. Although it does have the 50% chance to burn a random enemy at the start of my turn, which, you know, it is going to get boosted by, its damage will be boosted by burning enemies, but you have to consider that your potential is only 4 enemies. And if they're all burning, that's only going to give you 4 extra damage. It's not really worth it. So this troop works amazing with not being traded at all. You just need to have that firestorm active. And then we have Tian Yi. Now, Tian Yi did receive a little bit of a buff. It wasn't quite as powerful as it is now. When it first came out, this was only stealing 1 magic for every turn, and I think this was a lower, it had lower magic, so the damage that it was doing was a little lower. But now it's actually something that I can say is about an average mythic. When it first was released, it was a little below average. Now it's about average. It is a good troop in a wild folk team. Since it is wild folk, you can have it start with 50% mana, and if you do have some good mana generators in there, you can get this thing really going. It'll steal magic, so this magic is going to increase. Now it will stun all affected enemies, which is good. Stun is always good. It will deal double damage if your attack is greater. So your attack right here, 48. So if you plan on using this troop, you may want to put on some of those Urskaya medals or whatever they're called that increase your attack. Or if you have medals of a season or season medals, whatever they're called, that increases 4 attack and 4 armor, 4 life. If you have those, you might want to put on 2 or 3 of them to make sure that your attack here is going to be higher than your enemy, because that will allow you to do double damage. So here, heavy splash damage, if I'm doing 36 and I do double, it'll do like about 70 heavy splash damage to an enemy, and then it'll stun all of them. And then if there are open spots on your team, it will summon 1 to 3 monkey disciples, which can be pretty good. Monkey disciples are going to generate mana. I think they create 7 red and 7 yellow gems, if I'm not mistaken. And they do give life to all allies. So it's not a bad mythic. It halves enemy gem masteries, 20% chance to dodge skull damage, and then of course it's stealing that magic. The only downside of this is that it has the same exact colors as Dawnbringer, and there's been times where I've I've wanted to put this troop in a team with a Dawnbringer, and like it's the same exact color, so that's a personal grievance I have with it. It's nothing against the mythic itself. But yeah, comparing Tian Yi to Phoenicia, at the end of the day, I think Phoenicia is gonna be just slightly more powerful in my opinion, because with the right setup, you can do 60 damage to all enemies, and with a Firestorm active and something like Leprechaun to continue to explode the board, you can do lot of damage really fast, and Phoenicia is really good for farming trophies and farming explore, those explorer battles. You can do that and farm that. Cine Cool has a video where he talks about his team with Phoenicia, and he's doing like explore. I forget what it was. I'd have to watch his video again, but it was like explore 5 or 6 or something like that, where you get like the 3 trophies. So if you're into farming trophies and some of that stuff in explore, Phoenicia was a big part of that team that he was showing. So it's really good for that. Let's see here. It is elemental. So if you have the Maraji Queen with that, you can have it start with half mana. And then you have the Leprechaun, which starts with full mana. And you can just explode the board. And you got that Firestorm going. Man, you can get that 60 damage to all enemies just like so fast. So now comes down the hard part. Which Mythic troop would I recommend crafting the most out of all these? Well, even though Infernus is a classic, it's still okay, still pretty powerful. I think I'm going to have to say that Phoenicia is my first pick, is number 1 to craft this week. And then Infernus is... the burn all enemies here is pretty good with the Fireblade, so, I think I'm going to have to go with Infernus second, and then Tianyi, and then Fallen and Valdis is way in fourth. Like, it's way in fourth. It's so much less powerful than Tianyi. So, yeah, Phoenicia number 1, and Infernus 2, and Tianyi is 3. I'm just going to say that. And those are the order of mythics that I would say to craft this week. But that's just my opinion. And so, yeah, let's go on to the event now. And first, let me collect my tribute. And actually, before we go on to the event, let's go to the shop, because there's a new troop. Now, let me see if I can find it this week. Like, okay, so we got the Spoils of Wars and resources, and then the weekly event is where the troop is. I think I got it down. It was like to the last 2 videos that I did on Soulforge and this stuff. It was so hard to find this, because the Spoils of War and the event troop used to be right next to each other. So let me get my Spoils of War really quickly. Let's take a look at the Bone Biter. Bone Biter. And we're going to get 2 Arcane Blood Trait Stones. This right here is this troop good or not? Let me take a look at the ability. So the ability is Grind Their Bones. Deal 33 damage to an enemy. If they are undead, deal double damage. If there's a and there's a 50% chance to devour them. Man, I can't talk right now for some reason. Gain 5 life. So, for the 50% chance to devour them, hey, that's pretty good, that might be useful. But it's only against undead, so that's, unless there's undead team that you're going up against, yeah, it might not be. If the 50% chance devours without it being undead, that would bring the value up, in my opinion. Traits, nothing really great. It's going to deal double skull damage against undeads. Makes sense. Now, here's the real important thing. I want to show you guys this here really quick. Okay, so 400 glory, you're going to get 2 Arcane Blood Trait Stones. This right here is how much glory you're going to need to spend. 4,000 glory, 20 Arcane Blood Trait Stones. These Trait Stones right here are the ones that you need to fully trait your Titan class. So if you're starting out in the game right now and you're a lower level player, or even if you're a higher level player and you just don't have the Arcane Trait Stones to fully trait Titan, and you haven't been using Titan class for whatever reason and it's still untraded, now's the time to get the Trait Stones for that class. And I'm thinking of this myself right now because I'm doing a new account playthrough on my channel with my second account, and I've been using Titan class, but I only have like one Arcane Blood trait stone, but I have like 5,000 glory saved up, so it's exactly what I'm going to do on my new account playthrough this week, is I'm going to buy enough of these Arcane Blood trait stones to upgrade or to unlock the traits on my Titan class, which will allow the class to start with 50% mana, and will allow all giants to start with 50% mana. So now's the time to do that, guys, if you do not have that yet. So I'm just going to upgrade this. I'm going to buy enough of these to get it to Mythic. It costs 6,400 glory. That way we can get that thing to Mythic. And that's always good for upgrading your kingdoms. Because all of these kingdoms here, you're going to need troops. Like when you go in here to your power level of a kingdom, you're going to need troops traded and ascended and all that kind of stuff to get your power level up higher. And your power level is going to determine how much your tribute reward and your tribute chances are. And your tributes is mainly where you're going to get a lot of your gems from. And you can collect your tributes every hour. So I'm just going to collect some of my mail. Alright, now we can go to the Tower of Doom event. Tower of Doom. Let's go to the shop. Let's buy this weapon. And then we probably should go in and check out the upgrades on the weapon to see what goodies are in there. Let me go ahead and yeah, we'll just buy right up to this. This is what I do recommend to do. You know, of course, you got to have the gems. If you're a lower player, I wouldn't spend your gems on this kind of weapon yet. There's better Doom weapons that can come along to spend your gems on. And there's better faction weapons that you can spend your gems on. So as a newer player, you gotta kind of conserve on spending your gems in these events until you can get high enough level where you can really start to get enough of those tributes going on your kingdoms in order to gather hundreds of gems. So that's where I'm going to stop. Let's go check out that weapon here real quick. First of all, yeah, okay. So it is a blue color. And as for teams, first of all, let's just check out the weapon because I don't want to get sidetracked here too much. So you're going to need scroll forges to upgrade this thing, and we're going to get the blue ones for doing this event. Now you may have saved up some blue ones in the last Blue Doom event we had, and like I do. I got 42 of them. So that helps to unlock these. So it freezes the first enemy, it deals 3 splash damage, creates an ice storm, drains 2 mana from blue enemies. Create an ice storm is pretty useful, but we do have like there's other weapons like Jar of Eyes that can create a ice storm as well, and it explodes the board. So yeah, not the greatest weapon. I wouldn't really waste your diamonds or gems on this one if you're short on your gems. So, and as for teams, I already put together some teams so I could save time in this video. So we're going to back out of this and we're going to go to a different tab. And we're going to look at teams in here. So since it's blue day, you can only use blue troops and your weapon shouldn't matter. You should still be able to use a, unless I changed it. Let me go, let me go check that before I show teams that are, maybe not possible here. So can I select a weapon that's not the color? Like Mountain Crusher, for example. Okay, I can. Alright, I just wanted to test that out before I show you guys teams that have weapons in there that are different colors. I wanted to see if they restricted it or not. Why am I clicking on that again? Let's go back here. Okay, so Tower of Team 1 that I'm going to recommend here is Forest Troll, uses blue, doubles green on the board, King Gobtruffle, This one's great, and you got the Maraji Queen here that you can use with it because it has the blue color. It's going to cause all elementals to start with 50% mana. Your Gobtruffle is an elemental, so that'll cause that to start with 50% mana. Plus, it's going to convert all green gems to Doomskulls, and you're going to be creating a lot of green with Forest Troll and King Gobtruffle. Down here, we have the Doomed Glaive, which will convert brown gems to Doomskulls, and the King Gobtruffle is going to be creating your brown. So now another way that you could do this is you could take out the Maraji Queen and put in here a Queen Beetrix or another King Gobtruffle. You could do that, and that would work pretty well too. Tower of Team 2. You could do a Mountain Crusher at the top, 2 Queen Beetrix troops, and then Forest Troll at the bottom. Or you could do this. You could reverse that. Forest Troll at the top, Mountain Crusher at the bottom. You know, you could do it either way there. Forest Troll, good thing about that when it's traded is it will entangle an enemy when you do skull damage with it. But if you're using Titan, like I am here with a Mountain Crusher, you're going to gain Barrier if you select that Rock Solid talent. So that's really good defense there as well. And the Queen Beetrix is going to be creating green for itself, but it will also be creating brown gems, which can go back into filling up your Mountain Crusher or your Forest Troll. So that's your Team 2. Team 3 that I put together is a Shield of Urskaya and Rowanne team. Shield of Urskaya is a great weapon. It'll give an ally armor boosted by all enemy attack. And Rowanne here is going to do an incredible amount of damage boosted by its armor. Then as the other 2 troops here, I have Deep Bore, which is going to destroy a column and it's going to create 9 brown gems. That'll go back into your shield up here. And then we have the Moonsinger at the bottom to convert purple gems to green, and the green is obviously going to go into the Rowanne troop. Using Titan class for pretty much all 3 of these. And one thing I don't think I mentioned was the Titan class. If you do have it fully traded, like I said, it's going to give you that 50% start mana for all giants. The Forest Troll is a giant, so that will start with 50% mana if you are using the Titan class. And that's why it's important when you go over in that Glory Shop, make sure that if you don't have Titan class fully traded, you don't have the Arcane trait stones for it, all you need is about 4,000 glory, and you can go over to that Glory Shop and get the new troop, and you'll get those Arcane trait stones to unlock those traits on your Titan class. So yeah, that's my 3 team ideas for Blue Tower of Doom event. So I will put the codes for these teams down in the description below. And that's pretty much it for this video on the Soulforge and the current event this week. So I guess I could show the troops here really quickly for the event kingdom, which is Stormheim. And then I will end the video there. So scroll down here, and Stormheim, base rarity. So the mythic troop for Stormheim is Jotnar Stormshield, and it's a pretty decent mythic. I would say it's about average. It deals true damage to an enemy boosted by barriered allies and giant allies. So it works best when you have it in a team where you're going to have barrier on all of your allies, and all of your allies are going to be giants. So it works the best in a true giant team. Now, it works okay without being traded, but it will work a little better when it's fully traded, because right here, Storm Shield, give a random ally a barrier on 4 or 5 gem matches. That will increase its own damage, and it will protect your team. So, Jotnar Storm Shield, not a horrible mythic. It's about average. So that's interesting. Mistralis is another Stormheim mythic. It was a new one that was released about 2 months ago. It's actually pretty good. It has a low. Its damage is on the lower side, but it makes up for that in its utility of jumbling the board, gaining an extra turn, and enchanting all allies on a 4 or 5 gem match when you fully unlock its traits. So that's an interesting one as well. Then for the legendary troops, we have Hindal Frostcrown. Deals splash damage, freezes enemies, and summons a giant troop. It will also give all giant allies 2 life and magic on 4 or 5 gem matches. Then we have Jarl Firemantle. Creates 9 red and 9 yellow gems. It deals damage to an enemy, and it can burn a random enemy on 4 or 5 matches. So that's pretty much the 2 mythics and 2 legendary cards that you have for this kingdom. You do have another legendary card here, but it's down in the underworld, and that is something that you will not get in the keys that the event keys that you're opening up this week. And some of the other notable troops in here are the Scrymere, the Lofty, Cleanse, and Barrier Ally. Give them 64 life, move them to the front of the team. Zephyros, destroy a column, deal scatter damage, boosted by yellow gems, destroyed. And then we have Valkyrie is in here, but you probably already have that. Snowy Owl is a good troop, but it's a low rarity, so that's you probably already have that. But yeah, these are the troops here that you probably want to aim for in your event keys. If you don't have Jotnar, Storm Shield, or Mistralis yet, now may be the time to open those event keys here, and you'll have a chance at getting those troops. Alright guys, that's it for this week's video, so hope you guys appreciated and found this entertaining and informative and all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching as always guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. Later.